They say winning ain't everything. Well, we don't have them type conversations over here, man. Had that conversation with the losers. We trying to win at everything we do. Even in the loss, we don't see defeat. We see a lesson learned. Straight up. Look, I came into this world in 1978. The doc looked me in my face and knew I was something great. 45, 42 Prescott, that's where I'm from. Grew up in the slums around dope dealers and bums. As humble as I was, I adapted to my habitat. In my own lane though, far from where they crashing at. Dumb bar graduate, the game I done mastered it. Served in the Navy, look, y'all don't know the half of it. Pops passed in '01, moms passed last year. I know they up in heaven smiling down, crying mad tears, cause they son making it. No telling where I'm taking it. My city been cursed, but I feel that I'm breaking it. Coached at Wayne High in 15 in one state. Seen the fork in the road and went straight. I know what I'm worth, I'm OG King Kirk. Brooklyn Nets gaming crew legend, let's work.
Hey, this is OG King Kirk. Welcome to OG 2 Cents Podcast. I want to thank everybody for tuning in last week. I received a ton of great feedback, over 217 downloads and 40 followers in the first week. I'm truly ecstatic and appreciative. I wasn't expecting, those kind of results. I was kind of nervous starting out. I think this was something long overdue, as some people mentioned, but I truly appreciate it. This is the second episode. This week is the acts of entitlement. It's something that was just truly on my mind. I see a lot of things going on in the community. Seeing, there's some behaviors that, I think people don't think at the time how detrimental it could be to that individual's growth, and also, team's growth, league's growth, and different things of that nature. So I just wanted to touch on it just a little bit. I broke it down into three components. It's basically ego, attitude, and confidence, which is all those three words can basically, they have pros and cons to them. They don't always have to be looked at in a negative manner or anything like that. Just to separate, just like far as definition, so we can get right into it. Basically, ego, a person's sense of self-esteem or self-importance. Attitude, a settled way of thinking or feeling about someone or something, typically one that is reflected in a person's behavior. And then three, confidence, the feeling or belief that one can rely on someone or something, firm trust. So basically, just with the ego factor alone, is just like, it's players that I've watched, from 2015, until the current day. And basically, I've watched a lot of players grow, upward. I've seen some go down slope. And at the same time, just while you're on your journey and battling and grinding and going from basically the mud to the top, you got to remember the people that have been there with you, and then also the new players and the new people that are going to come along and want to be a part of everything that you're doing. So it's not we get caught up in thinking that it's all about being real all the time, and we have to express everything and do tweet everything that we think and respond to everything that doesn't even warrant a response. And it's really killing what I think could be the growth for something big, as players continue to strive for the 2K league or just players who looking to get better. Whether you realize it or not, it's some players that's in the community that people look up to. They may not always tell you, they may not always show it, but trust me, people are tuning in every day to see what you're doing, see how you're playing. They're in the streams. There's multiple players that as soon as they cut their stream on, they have hundreds and hundreds of viewers tuning in. And you want to make it to the point that you don't have to be fake. But you want those viewers to stay engaged with everything you do. It's vital to your brand and who you are as a player, besides just playing the game. And it brings attention to your team. It brings attention to the league. So it's important. And like I'm saying, you don't have to be fake. Just keep your ego in check. And I think everything will take care of itself. And I understand that it takes time to really, dive deep into yourself and look at some of the things that you're doing that can be perceived a certain way, or being able to take instructions or advice from some people like me. For example, somebody older that's seen a lot, been through a lot, and done a lot. So I think that's important to one's growth. The other part of attitude, and I look at attitude. I remember when I was coming up, a lot of people would say, "Oh, that kid has a bad attitude," or anytime that somebody acts in a way that people don't think they should act, they instantly look at it as having a bad attitude. And like I said, I mentioned in last week's episode, is that basically just about perception between, just passion and being emotional and different things like that. But it doesn't always have to reflect on the fact that you have a bad attitude or anything like that. So, it's just a fine line. But you want to be able to express those feelings, but not all. You try to keep it as much out of a negative light as possible. And like I said, the whole attitude is like, just express yourself and just try to be as uplifting as you can when the light is on you, and then be understood some more than likely when the light's not on you. And then the other part where we was talking about was confidence. Is like I said, just to review it again, it's the feeling or belief that one can rely on someone or something, like firm trust. And like I said, confidence. You want to be confident in yourself for once, and allow people to to put that same confidence back into you. It's important, and you have to have it. Like, I don't believe anybody can do anything without being confident. It's just come to the point when you put a combination of, like I said, ego, attitude, and confidence. It's just a fine line where you basically can have people who are rooting for you, but just in an instance they can turn against you. Like, for example, you building a fan base, you playing well, people look up to you, and then they turn to your stream, they hear you talking about shitters and constantly dogging and talking about people and everything like that. And I think the trash talk and everything is cool, but you got to understand where your whole audience. Like, sometimes your audience is not avid 2K players. Sometimes it's people just tuning in because they heard about you from somebody who's an avid 2K player or a competitive player or maybe another league player, and they hear about you, they want to tune in, they want to see what you're about. And then the first thing they do when they tune in is they see someone who sounds like an egotistical, overconfident player with a bad attitude. And that's the downside of it. And like I said, I don't think all the time players look at it like that. And you don't want to kill your fan base if you don't have to. I mean, like I said, for me, it's a little easier because I've been basically the same person since I've been in the community, and that's no knock to anybody. I think I was told once by my ex-wife is that, teaching is a everlasting process. You keep teaching and teaching and teaching until it finally kicks in, and that's the whole part of growth. Like, all of us don't develop and grow at the same time or in the same space. So, it's not that you look down on players or look down on other people because maybe the growth spurt that you've had in your life is a little faster than others. That's why I take it upon myself. I don't like to publicly dispute or do anything that can perceive negative to anybody. Like I said, for me, the one thing that I do is that if people have a problem with anything that I say, or they don't understand what I've said, then let's talk about it. Let's have a conversation about it. But I'm not with the slander. I've never practiced doing it to anybody, talking bad about anybody, or putting dirt on their name or anything like that. I just think that it's moments like that where we have to open up for dialogue and just go about it in an adult manner and let's make light of it. Like the one thing I always said is I don't have to like you to respect you. That doesn't come with it. I mean, respect, I want to treat people, basically just going back to the golden rule, just do unto others as you want them to do unto you. And I think if we can find the niche in between that, because it's difficult. Most of the players are engaging online. They not being face to face, and we all have these big talks and everything like that because somebody's loud on Twitter, but when you meet them, they're quiet. I've experienced that a lot. Not to the point where I'm saying it has to be drama, but I will see players who tweet a lot, and then when I meet them in person, they walk past you, don't even say hi, or anything. And I find that, I guess it's part of the millennial, so much as that they do all this engaging on social media, and then when they get in front of each other, they really don't know how to hold conversations or anything like that. Or they just choose not to. That's a part of it too. But I think, like I said, it's just understanding that you have people watching. You have organizations watching. You have sponsors watching. You have all type of potential opportunities in front of you that's looking at you. And you don't want to blow opportunities just because you let your emotions get the best of you, and you couldn't, just lack self-control. And I think that's something that should be heavy and looked upon, major, between each and every player that's in the pros, players that's looking to go to the pros. I think they really need to have a sense of self and understanding the situations that are in front of you. Because like I said, all of these that that's why I label this the acts of entitlement, because it's basically the downside of what can happen with it, the misconception of egos, attitude, and confidence. Because it's becoming a community killer. It's too much jealousy, too much envy, not enough uplift, not enough helping each other out. I'm not saying you have to give everything away of what you do to other players, but be cordial about it. I used to get on my players a lot, and I'm going to continue to do it while I'm a general manager in the 2K League, is that, respond to, I'm sure most of the top players in the community are some of the more known players. You get DMs from what we call randoms, which are basically players that's maybe unknown to a respected group of players. That's the definition I'm gonna use from now on. As far as a random, an unknown player that's basically not known by a respected group of players. I hate using the term because, like I said myself, I used to be a random, and nobody knew who Big Kurt 937 was, because that's who I was before I was OG King Kurt. So we all was a random at one point in time. So it's like, if you truly remember that feeling, you're not going to come off as this over the top ego and this overconfident person, and it can be intimidating to some of these players, because remember, we're dealing with a demographic between anywhere from 14, 15, 16, all the way up to 25. So you're being an older player around your 20s, and you're dealing with young teenagers that are still in high school. They look up to you, and how you respond to them and how you interact and engage with them is critical. And that's something that you shouldn't want to take lightly. when you put yourself in position to become a role model or to become somebody that can be looked up to, you have to honor it, no matter what. I know it's difficult because when you're still growing within yourself and you're still learning yourself and different things that you want to do, different things you like, different things you don't like, it's tough. And it's really difficult. I remember, somehow years ago when I was a young man and I was trying to find my way, and I truly didn't know what I wanted to do in a lot of different situations, whether it been employment or different things that come along in life. So you learn on the fly sometimes. If you choose not to listen to people that really care about you or anything like that, most of the time we ignore information or advice from people who really care about us because we feel as though when we're young, like they don't really know what they're talking about or what they're really doing. And it causes us to basically go out on our own and stumble a few times and even bump our heads until we realize, like, it's some people who really know what's going on and how to handle themselves in situations and different things like that can help you become a better person, from a better teenager, a better young adult to a more mature adult. And I think that's something that we need to keep in mind all of the time. I think dating back to February 11th, I put out a few OG2 singles, and I just want to bring those back up and talk about them for a little bit. One I put out was, "Don't let your pride and ego close the doors that were waiting on you to enter." And that's just a one sentence that's basically summing up a lot of the things that I've already talked about. But it's just like, for example, people see things in you sometimes that you don't see in yourself. And they try to give you advice and guide you to doing things that they can see where you will benefit. And with you not really sometimes wanting to submit to what they're saying and just let it sink in a little bit, calm down your pride and your ego and just try it. Not saying that person's always right. Sometimes people can give you advice on things that may have worked for them that may not work for you. But I think sometimes it's okay to try it and see if it works, and you never know. I think when I was in high school, we were playing a team in a scrimmage, and one of the coaches told me to do something. And at first, I wasn't really trying to buy into how they were telling me to guard a certain player on the other team. He was a fast point guard and everything, and hard to keep up with and different things like that. But I thought I can just play him head up and, speed for speed and basically try to get the best of him like that. Well, the coach was telling me, what way to force him, what hand he likes to use, what moves he's trying to use. And once I really settled down and got out of my own head and got out of my own feelings and did everything that my coach told me to do, I ended up I ripped him 3 times in a row. We scored on every possession that I forced a turnover. And I came out, I got subbed out probably a minute or so later. And then the coach looked at me and he said, sometimes us coaches know what we're talking about. And I think, that was something that's always going to stick with me because, I was young, I was hard-headed. I was not, obviously, OG King Kurt, the man that I am today at 15, 16, 17. I was just as many things as I see online or that I read or videos or clips or, watching Twitch streams, I was that guy. I mean, believe it or not. But it just came a point in time where you have to realize once you have a family, you have kids, you start raising kids, a lot of your thoughts and actions go out the window because you have, your miniature you who's looking up to you. Whether it's your son or whether it's your daughter or sometimes even for me, I have 4 grandkids too. So it's everybody's looking either at dad or they're looking at pawpaw. So it's you want to be the best version of yourself to them, so they can strive to be greater than what they are. And and even with saying that, I don't lie to them. I don't falsify anything. I let them know the mistakes that I made and different things that I've done. So also, it gives them another chance to not go down that same path in certain areas that I did, whether it be something minimum or major. But I want to allow them to learn from the realism of what's happened to me, and then also certain things that's not happened because I chose to do certain things. I think that's important. You have to be real with whoever you're dealing with. And I know sometimes it's a simple lines that get crossed in there, about being real far as person to person, and then sometimes being relative to business. It's a fine line between both of those, because in being real person to person, you can be wide open about any and everything, but sometimes in business there's certain things that have to be done regardless of your feelings and emotions, and I think that's something that really differentiates in that area. But just basically, like I said, just relax your pride, calm down your ego, and just allow yourself to go through the doors that's waiting on you to enter. I think ignoring that, sometimes you close a lot of doors that's waiting on you, and it's not a good feeling at the end of the day when you look back on it and you see some certain things that could have happened for you that didn't, all because you didn't want to listen, or you thought you was better than, or anything like that. Just to tie something into that, I just thought about where basically, I remember one of my coaches, he was like a big brother to me, and he was telling me about a situation that with a former player that was older than me, that he was trying to help him get a job. And then he said when he told him the job that he helped him get, the guy said, man, that job ain't for me. Like, it's not me. The job's not me. Like, I don't want to do it. It's not me. And that's fine, but I remember my coach saying, getting a check is me. Getting a check is me. Like, sometimes forget the job. I got to get the check. So, that's when you humble yourself and put your pride to the side. And instead of being unemployed, go get the check. The other thing that I put out on the same day, just time difference, was I don't know who needs to hear this, but every player in the league isn't a franchise player. You have been granted an opportunity. Be grateful. Now, what I meant by that was, every player carries their own weight in respective areas. Obviously, there's some players who bring a little bit more to the table than others, whether that be, your following, along with your fan base, when you combine like Twitter, Twitch, and all of that. Like, just your whole overall engagement and your aura and your persona. Like, for example, we only have 12 champions as far as the actual championship winners, not barring the mid-season tournaments or anything like that, but there's been 12 champions. So at some point it's like, okay, you can think that you're so much better than somebody, you're so much greater than somebody, but there's only 12 players who have championship rings. Like, let's put that in perspective. 12 at 100 plus players in our league, or the hundreds that have played within the last couple of seasons. 12 champions. That's it. So, like, at one point, if you haven't reached the playoffs, or you're not on a first or second team, or you haven't been in a MVP candidate run, or you're not the constant talk of who, of not only the best players like talking about it, but productivity and where do you stand at amongst the top players. Like, if you're like, we got to start putting some value on everything. Like, it can't just be about like I said, it goes back to that ego, attitude, and confidence, and that's more to the cons than the pros. Basically, we have to put some proof behind you, and if you can't do that, then that's when you pretty much start turning a lot of people off. Like it's like, you kind of become delusional a little bit, and that's what it looks like. That's what it sounds like. And for mine, it's just a turnout because I like players or just people in general. I like winners, and like the thing about it is, you can be a winner in multitudes of ways. Like it's not always sometimes, about being a pulverizing figure as far as a player. You can win a lot. It's just a lot of good players that I think are going to be around in the 2K league, and it's not always because they just putting up dominant numbers and stats and different things like that. I think basically, they're good people, and they're people they're players that people want to see, and I think pretty soon when we talk about the part of being like a franchise player, it's like, do they bring people that come in and want to watch them play? Do they bring people in and want to come in and watch their team play? Do they make people more interested and engaged about the 2K League? Like when you start putting that into it, or sponsors are looking at them to do commercials or to be a part of their brand and different things like that. Now, if those things, and that's part of what I mentioned, it's not a ton of that going on. But I think part of the reason is we the players are thinking it's all about playing all the time, and not really building a brand and not really building a presence. Like you want to have a presence that's so strong that if nobody looks at you as a player, they're like, I still need him, or I still need her, because they're valuable. And I think that's something that we as a community, no matter whether we coaches, GMs, or players, or we have to keep that in mind. Like our brands are important to bringing all our fan bases in collectively to helping the league grow. Like we can't just rely on the league to just go out and keep getting sponsors, but people have no reason to lock in because they don't have a favorite player or a favorite team. Like for example, like big shout out to like for us, like we have like Kev, as an avid Brooklyn Nets fan. He's a over the top Nets GC fan, and he's always supporting the team, whether it be through tweets or whether he sees the team when we in market or anything. He's all like he's there, like no matter what. And he's not alone. It's a few other people I can mention, like Chris, that comes to every event and everything that we have going on. Always supportive, always sending me like DMs and different things like that. Now, and I'm bringing those examples. It's like those are the kind of engagements and interactions that you want to have when you want to consider yourself a franchise player or somebody to watch or somebody to tune into. I know that and it's kind of rough because in this day and age, negativity it reigns supreme. Like I know for a fact because I put out nothing but positivity and inspirational tweets, whether it be on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. And sometimes they carry a lot of traffic, and then sometimes they don't. But let something negative happen, and somebody post it or put it out there, and that's what pretty much goes viral. And that's what everybody engages with, interacts with. It becomes big news. And that's just a sign of the times. I'm not one of those Debbie Downers or are always going like talk about, oh man, everything is so bad. No, I'm not saying that. I think the best thing that we can do, if I consider myself truly an OG, is I assess all the situations and how things are now. And you basically just devise different solutions for everything that happens. I mean, you don't always have to be a pit bull or a bulldog to basically combat things that go on. I mean, I think I try to keep a positive outlook on everything and deal with it accordingly. But it's basically just players that want to be the top player, want to be the man, or want to be considered a franchise player. You have to do everything that entails. And like I said, you're not gonna be perfect. Like, nobody's perfect. I think the one thing that we can't do is like we have to be sensitive to what we put into the atmosphere. It's one thing, like, we look at the NBA players, the NFL players, and stuff like that, and some of the players with the bigger, dominant personalities, they tweet and say whatever they want. But then we gotta look at it like those players are bringing in they multi-millionaires, and they're bringing in multi-millions of views and money and all of that for their respective organization. Like, we're not there yet. Like, everything counts that we do and what we say. Like, I mean, it's a matter of whether things go up or they go down really quick. And we have to see that. I mean, I have to have a sense of self with that. Like, nobody's bringing in a ton of anything for any organization yet to feel so much superior over other players, whether it be other pros or whether it be other amateur players. It's just not to that point yet. I really hope that we come to some type of understanding with that, and just understand, like I said, when you're in a game and in the heat of the battle and everything, like, you can talk trash and say a lot of things and whatever, but it doesn't always have to be distasteful all the time. I mean, more or less, people gonna really, only thing most of the people really want to remember is who won and who played well. Are you basically, are you the player that you're supposed to be? I think it was said back in the Lupe fiasco is, if you are who you say you are, you know what I'm saying? That the superstar, when the lights is on, do your thing and show everybody, why you are who you are. And I think that's more important than anything. Just show and prove. Also this week, it's a big week. I'm excited. 2K League Draft Saturday, February 22nd, I believe 5 o'clock at Terminal 5 in New York. I think it's going to be another epic event. I can't truly express how much I'm glad to be a part of the league, how much I truly enjoy being in this situation to help players go from amateur to pro. And at the same time, I also keep growing myself. I've been truly, words can't even express how much, YL has meant to me coming along, truly humbling himself and just becoming the best at what he does. And that's what he do. That's what he does. Period, point blank. Like, whatever you ask him to do, whatever you don't ask him to do, like, he's just truly on top of it all the time. We both took a break largely this weekend. He'll be back in the country tomorrow, and they'll be back to business as usual. But just a quick story, about him, and I always want to have some type of story, kind of league related, if I have one, just to let people know, like, it's a grind, and everybody's story is different. Everybody's journey is different, and it's always different ways to get into the league, and not even so much the league, just anything you want to do. Sometimes, I mean, you have to do things that you don't want to do to get to where you want to go. Then basically, back when I was hired as the GM for NSGC, YL applied for the social media content, the social media manager. And I asked him, as somebody who I've known for a while, has extensive knowledge on players, just the community as a whole, and he's pretty well respected as well. I asked him before I did or said anything or recommend, I said, is this truly something you want to do? Because I know he had past experience in helping organizations draft and different things like that. And I know a lot of times people say, like, man, I just want to get into the league. I just want to do this. And really what they're saying is they have in mind what they want to do, but they're just saying they'll do anything just to be a part. And that's not a bad thing, but you have to get in and execute what you're supposed to do in hopes to elevate. And basically that's what he did. He said, no, Kurt, I'm going to do the social media. And I was said, fine. And, recommend him. He aced the interviews, went through, and he got hired. And initially, I loved everything that he was doing. We had to get to know each other. We knew each other like from just a community and just playing against each other from time to time or whatever, but we didn't really know each other. So I think once we got past that era where I could trust him, he could trust me, and we really started to be like family, like it was on and popping after that. Like, I mean, it's like he was like another brother, to me, as well as I've gained a lot throughout my time in the 2K community. But basically, he proved his worth. And this past month or so, I think last month, he got promoted to assistant GM, and it's truly not another person that at this point in time that I would want to have on my side. I mean, he's always there, and he's punctual, professional. He's all about getting the job done, and he's relentless. And I truly appreciate him. And I can't wait to be back in New York this week. I actually leave out on Tuesday, the 18th, to head out there, and I'll be out there a few days before the draft, and I'm truly grateful about that. Just getting into, almost at the close of this, but just getting into it is that the off season's been good to me. Spent a lot of time with my kids, my grandkids. Just took some, you need a mental break. I don't care what it is that you're doing. Even if you're not working in the 2K league or whatever you're working in or whatever you're doing, is you need to take that mental break sometimes for yourself and just to rewind, relax, and just refocus. And that's basically what I've been doing. I looked at a lot of things that I either did last season or didn't do, and I'm putting points of emphasis on different things. And our organization is trying to step up as many things as they can to make us a better organization and to make it more comfortable for our players that we currently have on the roster and players that are going to come into the roster. But overall, it's just been a good time here in Ohio. Not really bad winters, or we haven't even hit winter really. It snowed probably like 6 or 7 days out of the whole winter right now. I'm not really a big fan of the snow or anything like that. I mean, it comes and goes. I think when I was younger, it seemed like we used to get blizzards all the time. But now that I'm older, it's like you don't even recognize what season it is in Ohio anymore. But basically, just a lot of love and support. Really taking time to keep growing my brand, and there'll be a lot of merchandise coming out real soon. And this overall fun time. As far as I'm being ready to get back to Brooklyn, I can't wait. It's definitely going to be a fun times. I know Beast has a lot of things lined up for us to do, different approaches. Like I said, I'm excited about the draft. It's always a good time to see players personally, see other GMs, see other coaches. Obviously see BD and the crew and everybody like that, and my main man JP, which is Joshua Press. He's the senior vice president for BSE Global Partnerships, and he's a great guy. Puts a lot of trust and faith in me We always have a good time. I always have great talks. See, the one thing I like about him is he's like an OG to me. We're not too far apart in age, but I mean, he has a lot of experience in the professional side of things, and he truly doesn't mind sharing anything that can help make me a better person, a better manager, and basically a better employee for BSE. So, BSE Global. So, truly grateful to have him. I love New York. At this point, I couldn't see myself probably being anywhere else in the 2K League, but just fun times. Like I said, I want to give shouts out to everybody, like I said, who tuned in last week for the first episode, which was basically the State of Pro-Am. Like I said, I received over 200 plus downloads, 40 followers. I was truly grateful for that. Even views on YouTube, which is, basically you can catch me on all social media platforms. OG King Kurt on Twitter and Instagram. I also have an OG King Kurt blog page on Facebook. Truly just trying to spread my brand, Nets GC, and just the whole overall 2K League. Also following our team social media pages at Nets Gaming Crew on Twitter, on Instagram, and on Facebook. Thanks everybody for tuning in. See you next week. I'll be making episodes on Sundays. Should come out, try to put them out between 10:30, 11 o'clock. That's Eastern Standard Time. Appreciate everybody. OG out.